Hi everybody, Michelle Scaife here again, your extension agent with Better Living for Texans in Montgomery County, part of Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. Today, I'm here at the Montgomery County Extension Office and I am inside greenhouse number 1. Here at our Montgomery County Extension Office, we have 3 different covered growing areas or greenhouse areas, and I'm going to walk us through and let us look at how some of our greenhouses are set up and what we do with them. So this is greenhouse number 1. This is kind of the first place where plant stuff happens. So I'm at the back of the greenhouse, kind of walking in through the back door, and I want you to notice that, right over here, what you're seeing are some mature tomato and pepper plants. So those plants actually have fruit on them. They are producing. They are being kind of overwintered here inside the greenhouse, kind of a test run for how we keep fruiting plants producing over the winter times. You'll kind of also see behind me here, we have some what we call mother plants or mature plants. A lot of the items that you're going to see out here, we propagate from these mother plants. These mature adult plants are often used for our propagation classes and propagation activities. We have several things. We have flowering or florals, ornamentals, kind of here in the back of this particular greenhouse. Now, as we walk, I want us to take note of what's above my head. Above my head here, this is our shade cover. Now, a lot of us who have greenhouses have a shade cover that might go over the outside of the greenhouse. And while that's pretty standard, this particular one, as you can see, is on rails on the inside, and it can be pushed off to the side so it's out of the way and we're getting a maximum effect of sun exposure, or it can be pulled clear across the top of the inside of this greenhouse to give us shade cover. Right now, you'll see it's only over the beds on this side, or the trays on this side. This side needs some shade in the early part of the day to prevent these plants from getting too much light or too much exposure. We also have fans blowing. As I've mentioned before in some of my classes, if you've attended them, air circulation in a closed growing environment is extremely important. Circulating that air is going to help with some pollination efforts. It's going to reduce humidity or moisture buildup, reduce condensation, and prevent some fungal bacterial issues. That circulating air also toughens up or hardens off some of our baby plants. So I'm going to walk forward so you can kind of see what I mean by that. If we're over here looking at these plants, can you see how they're kind of dancing a little bit? That fan circulating the air blows on these young tender plants, and it encourages them to strengthen their stalks and get a nice sturdy stalk or sturdy stem. It really does give us a better, vibrant, strong plant. You'll see these spigots. This here is a watering misting system. Now, depending upon what plant is on the tray, on this table here in front of us, so I'm going to step back so you can see. These are tables. We have a stepping stone walkway. There's soil underneath, and then there's a table. This table has grates so that water or soil can go through. And this is a misting irrigation system that can spritz water on the tiny plants and help them to stay strong and stay growing. Now, for the most part, we prefer that most of our plants be watered from the soil level and not from the top. But when we're first getting some things going, that early misting is important. And if we're growing tropical type things in our greenhouse, they need that moisture. As we move toward the front of our greenhouse, we have a couple of interesting little setups here. We have one on this side and one on this side. And I'm gonna explain that a little bit. These are kind of our plant nurseries. This is where the babies start out. So as you can see, we have growing trays with growing medium in them. We've got some seeds started. So when we first put soil into our vases and we first put seeds out, they come into this little structure. Now this little structure has the misting irrigation system, but it also has a frame. This PVC frame allows us to cover this area, which might be a little more obvious on this side because you can see the cover. So this has an option for us to pull that over and give these tiny plants a little more protection, a little more humidity, moisture, and warmth, so that the little seedlings will start to grow. And so when you get closer, you can see baby little seedlings, baby plants all over this section of the greenhouse. So this is kind of the nursery. This is where seeds get started, just like that. And as you can tell, we can move that cover off and start circulating the air, start hardening them up a little bit, start exposing them to a little more light as they start to germinate. And that's what's happened here. You can tell that a lot of our green little beautiful baby plants have germinated. So that means they can do without so much cover and start getting a little more regular exposure. The front of the greenhouse is just really nicely organized. I like this. This is our planting area. So you'll see we have our soil all lined up, ready to go in the seed trays. We have some washing areas, water areas where we can mist or wash our hands or wet the soil as we need it. Of course, planting things here. This is a ventilation system, so that can either blow air, it can be opened up or closed down to help us with the humidity. We have some tools and things over here. And on the other side, it's kind of our work table. So at this table is where you're gonna find us spending time getting seeds out of our old refrigerator where seeds are stored, because storing those seeds in the refrigeration is best for them to stay fresh. But we have our little area. So we keep garden journals of everything that we seed, germinate, propagate, you name it, it's in these journals, along with what we keep track of as we're growing plants. Over here, of course, there's snippers, there's clippers, there's picks and labeling stuff, so that when we're starting our seeds here at the table, we can make sure that things quickly get labeled, things are dated, we have everything that we need in one place. So I have to say, as greenhouses go, you know, this would be the optimal, ideal setup. If I personally had the time, the space, and the money to invest, I would completely have something like this. I'm kind of just gonna, we also have a trash area where our recycling goes. Gonna kind of just glance back for you. So at the very front, of course, seed starting, we have our little nursery area. Toward the back, of course, the larger plants as they're growing. In the very back, our mother plants that we propagate from. More seed areas, our soil area, kind of our cleanup area or our watering station. So that is it. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of our greenhouse number 1, and I hope it inspires you. Most of us aren't going to have a setup quite this detailed or elaborate, but it may inspire us in how we set up or how we arrange our own personal planting station. Tune in next time as we visit greenhouse number 2.